seat. If you have a bolster, go ahead and grab that. A blanket would be nice. If you don't have a bolster, a few pillows will work. Block or 2 blocks and a strap today. This is kind of distracting. Cross your feet. Bring your palms together. Allow your eyes to gently close. Observe the heart rate. Observe your breath. Feel the touch of the hand to the hand, touch of the air against your skin, the touch of the breath as it enters the body. Observe the quality of the breath. Just trying here to slow it down somewhat, be a little bit more deliberate. Allowing the breath to find space within the body. Breathing into the back of the lungs, expanding the rib cage, making space between each of those ribs, making space where the ribs attach into the spine and in toward the sternum. Allowing the breath to penetrate the side body. And feeling the belly somewhat open and relaxed so that the breath can go deeper on that inhalation. And try not to be too, quick to let the breath out as well. You want to just take a split second at the end of that inhale to fully enjoy the fullness of the breath before you exhale. And then observe the condition of the physical body. Start by observing the centrality of the spine. And as you sit here, observing the spinal column, try to draw the breath from the tailbone here up the 2 sides of the spine. Draw the chin in slightly and lengthen through the back of the skull, away from the tops of the shoulders. We will chant 3 ohms. Yogena chitasya padena vacham malam sharigasya chavai yogena yopa karatam pravaramaninaam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankachakasidarinam Sahasrara Shirsam Shwetam Prananami Patanjalim Hari Om. Bow your head toward the heart center. Feel the two sides of the neck for a moment. Draw the shoulder blades down. Release the hands down with palms open. And then slowly lift the head and open your eyes. Okay. Our first pose today, we're going to use our bolster. If you would prefer to use the block, you may do that. But you'll take your bolster along your mat and just center it somewhat. And if you're using a block, you basically just put the block somewhere in the middle here. It'll function as the same prop in some ways. Take your hands forward. Walk your knees slightly forward. Curl your toes under. And turn your hands out slightly so the thumbs are more or less pointing forward, maybe not quite, but closer. So the fingers are turned out a little bit. And then lift up, walk your feet into place, and just look toward your thighs. So the chin is drawing toward the chest, and then try to set the top of the head down gently on the bolster. Feel free to move your feet so you access the prop here. This is the Restorative Yoga. So the head is on the bolster, and it's a cue for the brain to become quiet. I love to do this pose with eyes closed, really allowing me to draw on my sensing body. No distractions with the eyes open. Roll the points of the elbows in slightly. To begin our practice, we want to really stretch out the body, and this really lengthens the spine, stretches the four limbs. Now lift your head and look down at the bolster, and then set the forehead down. Your nose may also touch, most likely. Slightly different position for the head. Now take those hips back and lift them up. So it's, while it's restorative, there's still a lot of action in the four limbs. Still trying to do the same actions as if we're doing regular classic down dog. Again, roll the points of the elbows in. There's a little bit of a tucking in of those elbows. Feel how that impacts your shoulder blades. Do it a couple of times. Just roll them in the elbows and see how it impacts the sides of the shoulder blades. And then tilt the hips up. Draw the inner thighs back. And then very slowly, you're just going to come forward, bend your knees, bring your knees down. And we're going to just move ourselves into child's pose using the bolster. Take your toes together and draw the hips back. Feel the shins press down into the floor. And then you can just turn your cheek onto the bolster. And again, the bolster represents something here in the restorative sequences. It represents comfort, and it's a place to release. We touch the bolster. We're not just touching it, we're releasing into the bolster, and that's what we want. So letting the side of the face hug into the prop. So anywhere the bolster touches the body is significant. Then lift your head and turn to the other side. This gives us an opportunity to pay attention to the neck and how the neck is feeling. So on your first side, you may have observed how the neck was. What does it feel like on this side? Is it less or more strained? Can you relax the elbows a little bit and feel that upper back relax also? Letting go your thoughts into the bolster. The bolster will hold your thoughts. And if you want them back, you can take them back. But you don't need to hold them yourself right in this moment. Go ahead and lift your head and come on up. Now I'm going to slide the bolster down a little bit further away from the front of the mat for the next pose. So I'm going to take my blanket in case I need the blanket also. Take the blanket forward. I'm going to take downward facing dog again, but the bolster's closer to the feet this time. So I come into downward dog, and then I'm pressing into the left foot and lift the right and cross it over the bolster, and then slide your right knee forward right in front of the bolster and set the buttock on the edge of the bolster. I'm going to pull my blanket in just for my head because now I've got that right hip on the bolster. I'm going to put my head on the blanket. Both very significant for the purposes of our class today. Take your head down and rest your head. So this time the front part of the head and the forehead on the blanket. So what I'm doing here with the breath as I exhale, I'm letting this right hip, this right buttock just descend into the bolster, and I'm letting the forehead also descend into the blanket. So as most of you know by this point, we hold a lot of emotion in our bodies, and one area of our body is, of course, the brain. The other area is the hip. So this is your chance to let go any emotional senses that you have, particularly negative emotions, worries, anxieties. Just letting those go right now. It'll be okay. And again, those emotions will wait for you should you decide to re-engage with them. And you may not. You have choices. This is Raja Kapotasana, King Pigeon. Now go ahead and take your hands and bring them behind your back and interlock your fingers and lift the arms straight up. Now what we're doing here is we're creating a little bit of energy here in the arms and in the upper part of the chest. Squeeze your triceps to engage them, and then release and squeeze your biceps. So really getting the arms involved here. Letting your hands come forward if you can, a little bit more.
And then just slowly bring your hands back down. Take your hands down to the floor and very slowly, with your eyes closed, push into the floor and feel the head lift off the floor. And I really want to feel that. With the eyes closed, I'm going to push down and straighten the two arms. And before I open my eyes, I'm observing just how that feels when I lift the head off the blanket. And there's a certain quality of calmness that I'm in touch with here. And that's what I want. Take a couple more breaths, exhaling down into that bolster with the right buttock. And then gently let the eyes crack open. Curl your left toes under, lift the knee, and push back into the downward dog. And we'll take a few breaths in the down dog. You can do this with eyes open or closed. Re-energizing the four limbs. We're trying to balance the qualities of quietness with the qualities of effort. Then press into your right foot. Go ahead and lift your left foot, cross the knee over your bolster, that left knee, and slide the knee forward and over in front of the bolster. Set the hip down, and then slowly descend the head back onto the blanket. And again, we're back into this yin phase where we're going to go quiet. It's a releasing and softening of the entire body. It's a letting go of unwanted feelings and thoughts. It's about breathing in new energy, new life. And it's about breathing out old, unwanted energy. And it's about, of course, connecting with the ground, with the earth. Sensing the skin of the forearms releasing into the ground. Thoughts and feelings slowly diminishing. You don't have to hold always those thoughts and feelings. Our restorative practice is there for you to give those thoughts and feelings away, even if it's temporarily. And as you breathe here, just noticing your inhalation across the back body and, of course, along the spine. Feeling that left hip just descend. Feeling the spreading of the left side of the sacrum there down into the gluteus medius. Gluteus medius, a really important muscle. The top and around the back of the hip there. Very central muscle in the body. Then go ahead and take your hands behind you. Now if you can change the interlock of the fingers from before, just go ahead and lift the arms up. We want to create now a little bit of energy in the arms while still releasing into the blanket and the bolster. So there's this place where we're drawing on the yin and the yang qualities at the same time. Let those arms come forward a little more if you can. And then very slowly go ahead and release the arms. We're going to take the hands back down, and with the eyes closed, very slowly starting to elevate the head. Just keeping those eyes closed until the arms are straight and your chest is lifted here. And just observing for a few more seconds that quality. When you let go in this way, there's such a quality of calmness and peacefulness that we want to cultivate, invite. Gently open your eyes, curl your back toes under, and then we'll step back into the downward dog one more time, just for a few breaths. And in part just to give the knee a little bit of a stretch. Good, gonna come down here. And from here, I'm going to turn my bolster. I'm going to turn it along the opposite way on the mat. This is perpendicular. And I'm going to use my blanket for this as well. What I want to try to do is sit on the hip. So let's sit on the left hip here with the two knees slightly forward. And then we're going to take the, we're going to take the rib, left ribs, and lift it up and over the bolster. Walk your left arm forward, and then just set your head down. Now, yes, this might be a lot, for the bolster does tend to press into the rib cage here. If you need to make more height, you can fold your blanket a little more. And when you get here, try to relax the arms as much as possible. Then lift your right arm and bring it over the head and take your left hand to your right wrist. Then take your right leg and step it out in front and extend your left leg all the way along the mat. Now you can hold the wrist, but you can also take the arm forward a little bit if you want to go a little bit further into the upper body stretch. You take the arm further over the head. There's different variations and degrees. Now try to relax the shoulders, so we don't want the shoulders to lift up toward the ears. We want to try to relax that. We want to also try to relax the head so that there is some space between the left ear and the left shoulder. Now we're going to take the left leg next and bring it out toward the right foot. And then we're going to lift the right foot and bring it where the left leg was. And now I'm going to roll open a little more. So I'm opening the chest. And it's not fully open, but it's largely open to the sky. And again, trying to soften the shoulders so they're not bunching up toward the ears here. Try to relax the hips so that you can feel that left thigh descend. And you can feel that right waist stretch. So that's a big component of this pose. Now the other big component, of course, is the breath. So we're going to take several more breaths here, focusing the breath right into that right side of the waist and abdomen, right into the right side of the ribs. Can you find that last few breaths? Can you just find that place of completely letting go or get close to it? Good. Then go ahead and release the right arm. Bend your right knee. Help yourself up slowly. And you'll probably notice right away that right side feels very different. The side and the back rib on the right side, quite different from the left. Take your bolster across. And again, roll your blanket up, get some pillows. It's going to pretty much do the same thing. We're going to go to the second side. I have my blanket over for my head. I'm going to bring my head quite close to the front edge of the bolster. I'm going to slide my arm right through between the bolster and the blanket here. The right arm comes through. The right foot is going to come forward, the left one on your mat. So you've got sort of feet quite a distance apart. And then I'm going to reach with that left arm and hold the wrist, hold the left wrist. I think I crossed the feet the wrong way. So the first one is the left leg forward and the right leg straight back. Sorry about that. So reverse the order there. And again, just take note of your breath. This is not necessarily an easy pose to release into. There's a lot of tension in the side body that inhibits the releasing fully of the body. So it's a process. Doesn't happen right away. I'm just trying very hard to let go in the shoulders and find that space again. And part of it is letting go in the torso. Now I'm going to switch the feet. So I'm going to take the right foot and bring it out. And then the left foot is going to come back onto the mat. And now that's an indication to start to roll the chest open. Bringing that left shoulder closer to the bolster here. It doesn't have to come all the way down, but it's moving in that direction. And you're going to take several breaths now into that left side of the body. Quite intense, actually, in some ways. Make sure you're not pulling too hard on the wrist. You want to keep that arm where it attaches to the shoulder relatively loose. I want to think about letting that left buttock descend. The foot may turn out as you let the buttock come down, as you let the left back ribs come down to the bolster. Okay, we're going to release the arm first, so you get that shoulder to relax, then roll to your right, take your left hand down, bend your knee, and just slowly push yourself up. You want to take note
of the sides of the body here. As you come up, I'm going to take my bolster over to the first side. This time I'm going to set the bolster along the mat. I'm going to take the two knees off to the right, the feet off to the right, so my knees are pointing forward here. Feet are pointing or turned out here. I'm going to turn. This is a twist, and it's going to be an add-on to the last pose. So I'm going to turn my body a good amount here, twisting around, and then lift your chest, lift your ribs, and then just bring your ribs down. And you can take the left cheek down to start, or if you feel like you want to have a full spinal twist, the right cheek down. You can vary it. Again, take your right hand to the right buttock here and just entice that buttock down, getting the flesh of the glutes to move away from the low back there. And then you can bring your arm back, let go. So we've turned the head slightly. So now I'm just letting go of this side of the brain here. Now I am on my right, so my right side of the brain relaxing. When the brain releases, it begins to restore. It regroups. And when it releases, it filters out a lot of the unwanted thoughts there that form kind of a traffic jam in the brain. Just the right side of the brain, more of the creative part. I'm just going to lift my head and my chest a little bit. I'm going to go one step further before I come out of this pose by taking the bolster and turning it off to the left a little bit at an angle, and then allowing my body to adjust to accommodate the position of the bolster. I'm going to lift up and turn a little bit more and bring that right side down, the cheek and the right side of the head. The beautiful thing about restorative yoga is that the poses generally do the work for you. You don't have to put a lot of effort, particularly physical effort, into the poses. They're designed to hold you. They're designed to accommodate the needs of the body. So you don't have to work too hard at all. In fact, the only thing you have to work hard for is to release. Let go. I'm going to push slowly up now, coming out of this twist. And I'm always observing as I lift out of a pose like this, what am I feeling in my body? What am I sensing? And I'm also very aware of what the brain is, what's going on in the brain, how active or how quiet it is. I'm going to take my bolster now over to the other side. I'm going to point the knees forward and bring the feet over to the left. I'm going to look down toward the bolster, bring each hand on either side, lift the chest. I'm literally trying to invite the belly forward, the ribs forward. I'm getting as much space in the front body as I can before I bring the cheek down. Now again, you might find the cheek turned one side versus the other may feel different, maybe shows some tension
on one side that isn't necessarily there on the other. Just paying attention to that. Letting that left side of the brain release. Eyes closed. The twist, while it's very releasing, this pose, the twist part is the energizing part. So there's, again, drawing on a balance here between what's active and energizing and what's cooling and inactive. And this, is, of course, is another opportunity to connect with the earth. That is healing. Grounding is healing. Notice where you're not letting go. Might be in the arms somewhere. See if you can make minor adjustments so that you can completely release. If the arms are not happy, then the shoulder will probably not be happy also. Now I'm going to slightly lift the torso, and I'm just going to turn the bolster now off to the right at an angle. So I'm taking my hand to the top part of the bolster, turning it, and then I'm going to accommodate the bolster by drawing the ribs around a little more and bringing a slightly deeper twist onto the bolster. Now with the bolster against the abdomen and the chest, it may be a little harder to keep that deep breath consistent. But now I'm going to push up slowly. Again, just noticing the quality of the mind, which impacts, of course, the quality of the body. And I'm going to now take my bolster. I'm going to take a strap. Go ahead and make a large loop in your strap. And I know some straps are longer than others, but you do want a good sized loop. We're going to bring that over the shoulders here. And then the bolster will come off to the right. I have my head on the blanket. I'm going to lie down with the strap right around the shoulder blades here, and I'm going to lift the right leg and take the foot into the strap. Now, once I get that, I want to make sure I have access to the tail of the strap in case I need to adjust it. So I'm just going to lift the heel up and then start to slide the foot out, and you'll feel the foot slide down the strap, and then bring that onto your bolster. The strap can come right around that left rib here, if that's comfortable for you. If not, you can bring it a little bit lower or a little bit higher up over the shoulder here. And then I'm going to take the left leg and just push through the heel and reach the leg down. This is hands-free.
What a lovely thing. You don't have to use your arms to hold the strap, to hold the foot. And I'm focusing here rather on two parts of the body mainly. I'm focusing, of course, on the right leg, but I'm also focusing on the left hip here, and I'm sensing something in the left hip is going on. So I'm opening that left hip, the front of the hip, away from the center of the hip. And I feel this in my waist. I feel it at the top of the buttock. And I'm going to take my left arm and extend it over the head. And then just soften the elbow. You don't need to stretch the arm. You just soften the elbow here. Chest open. Now if it feels too much on that left hip, you can just bend the knee. That's all right. All right, I'm going to start to lift the right leg up now. Bring it all the way up. And then just reach with your hands to the strap. And we're just going to stretch the leg so the heel is straight up. And I'm holding firm on the strap, pressing through the heel, drawing the toes down, and letting my shoulder blades relax down into the floor. Close your eyes for about 5 breaths here. You can bring that leg in a little bit more incrementally. So notice how that right leg is impacting the left. I'm going to keep drawing the back of the left leg down into the floor. And then I'm going to release and just let that leg extend all the way out. Take a few breaths here. This is that moment of nothing. It's almost like going into Shavasana. And can you just let your body just fall into the corpse pose? And then we're going to get ready for the second side. So you can bend your knees. Your strap's probably in the right, you got the right size loop. And we will take the strap. We'll bend the 2 knees. Take the strap around the left foot. I'm going to keep the right knee bent here for now. And then I'm going to start to slide that left foot out. Go slowly. Press through your heel, spread the toes, and just set the lower part of the leg down. I'm softening the pelvic floor so that the whole pelvic floor area is relaxed. And then I can take that right leg and extend it out in front, pushing through the heel. And just notice where the buttock is located. Is it close to the floor? How close? Is it right on the floor? Is the back of the leg touching the floor? May not be. And that's okay. And you can take your right arm if you like and extend it over the head. You don't have to. If you want that openness in the upper chest, then that's the position of the arm. You really want to soften that elbow though, so that the shoulder can fully relax. You don't want to be putting any effort here. And again, it's the pose that's doing the work. So you could just stay back from the effort part of it. And just pay attention to that SI joint on the right side there. My exhale taking me deeper into the ground. Observing that right leg, I'm going to start to lift the left leg up, straight up. And then I'm going to reach up with my hands and hold the strap and just gently draw the leg in. Now, notice if you're able to get a little bit more of that right leg down into the floor. As you draw the left thigh in slowly. So every breath, every exhale, maybe taking that leg in just another half an inch or so. And then go ahead and release. You're just going to keep the strap around your body as you let the two legs relax, the two arms come back by the sides. I want to take a few breaths just fully letting go here. And this is a way to allow the body to basically save the information, to hold the information that comes with the pose. Okay, now I'm going to slide, I'm going to keep my head down on the blanket and bend the knees and slide the bolster right under the thighs. And then I'm going to take the 2 feet into the strap and straight up I go. And I want to have access to the tail of the strap. I may want this to be tighter. But before I do that, I'm going to tilt the feet over the head, pull the bolster in against the top of the hip, and I can move the strap down the body a little bit, and I just want the legs to be perpendicular to the bolster. If you feel like it's impinging on your head or neck, you can move the blanket out of the way. Might give you a little bit more ease in the neck. We don't want to be distracted. And again, this pose, we want to just hold the pose by allowing the strap to do the work. The strap is holding the legs and the upper body in place. At some point, you may find that you can tighten that strap just an inch or so, and it might hold the legs even more. And I'm actually letting the heels come away from the body slightly, so allowing the weight of the heels to bear forward slightly. Inviting the light. Inviting the light in the front body. And surrendering the weight of the back body to the ground. This balance of light and weight
Okay. I'm going to very slowly bend my knees, reach up, take the strap away. I'm just going to bend the knees and set the feet on the ground. And now you're in the supported bridge. It's nice. You just stay here for about 5 breaths, letting your feet sense the touch of the earth. From being suspended to now being grounded. Allowing the low back to descend into the bolster. And then I'm going to lift the hips, slide the bolster out, lower the hips, and then roll to the side and come on up. Right, so my next pose is to open the chest a little bit. It's going to be fairly energizing in some ways, and then on other ways calming. So it's a good energy. We want to draw on some chest opening energy. It's a really positive energy that it sort of brings to your body and your sensing body. So I'm going to put my blanket on the far end of the bolster, and I'm going to take the strap and make a small loop in the strap. I'm bringing the loop around my thighs, and then I'm going to lay down on the bolster, but then I'm going to slide my body just off the bolster. I don't want to go too far. If I go too far, I've gone too far. So I really want to be very slow about this. I want to feel the tops of the shoulders here on the bolster, and then once I do that, I'm going to extend the legs out, and I want to walk my heels apart. And in this way, the strap is holding the thighs and the hips in a very specific place. So the hip is not opening as much in the front. And then I'm just going to let my arms open out to the sides. Another thing you can do is take the 2 arms over the head, hand to elbow, if you want a little bit more of that energizing quality in the upper body. So you can try it both ways. It's really quite lovely. You can do this pose with a folded blanket. So you fold the blanket into a very long, narrow fold, and basically do the same thing. It sort of acts like a setu bandha, but it's a soft setu bandha. In the setu bandha bench, it actually is a wooden bench that is right under the body, just as your bolster is, and so the edge of the wooden bench there pushes right up into that part of the spine, and it really opens the chest, but it can be a little aggressive. It's very good, but it can be intense. Now just observe your breath. If you have the arms over the head, see if you can soften the elbows enough so that you feel the tops of the shoulders relax. And letting go the back body into the bolster.
letting go the back of the hip, the back of the leg, the shoulder blades, the back ribs. And letting go the back of the skull, the brain at the back, descending into the blanket. You sense my toes pointing straight up. And now I'm going to bring my arms back by my sides. I'm going to bend the two knees. I'm going to lift the feet off the ground and slide the strap down. Remove the strap. And then I'm going to just lift my hips and slide the bolster forward, away from the torso so that I can descend the hips down. Let your knees fall in together. And then I'm going to turn my bolster. I'm going to lift the feet and bring the bolster right in against the buttocks here. And then take the two legs and descend them over the bolster. So they are somewhat elevated here and clearly supported. The back of the leg here, clearly supported by the bolster. Make sure that your blanket is supporting the base of the skull. Take your hands on your, let's start on the abdomen. Take the hands on the abdomen, one on top of the other. And I want to really enjoy the release of the thighs down into the bolster. And that's one of the main components of this pose, is to just enjoy the releasing, the letting go here. There's something very soothing about this touch of the thigh against the bolster. Hands on the abdomen. Now I'm going to just take a few breaths into my hands. I'm not pushing the breath very hard at this point. I'm just observing how the breath finds its way to my hand. As I exhale, I'm feeling the thighs descend. And then I'm going to take my hands up to my ribs. So I'm taking my hands onto the lower part of the rib cage here, one hand on each side. And I'm going to invite the breath in here. And I'm enjoying the rhythm of the breath here. As I inhale, I feel the breath. As I exhale, I let go into the bolster with the thighs. I'm going to take my hands higher up now into the upper part of the chest. So a little above the heart, elbows and triceps on the floor. The hands, the fingers may touch. And I'm going to take a breath into that third part. And then I'm going to take my hands down onto the floor, palms open. And my last part with the breath here is the three parts, right where you had your hands. Now you don't have the hands. We're going to take the three-part breath. So as you inhale, starting to bring the breath down into the abdomen for a third, and then a third in the rib. And then a third right above the heart. And then hold for a second before you slowly exhale from the upper chest down to the abdomen. 5 breaths. Really making each part almost separate. And then one fluid exhale. You can breathe through the nostrils, or you can breathe on the inhale through the nostrils and exhale through the mouth, pursed lips. And then after my 5 breaths, I'm just going to come back to let the breath come to its natural rhythm. I'm going to take my hands now together and rub the palms together. Go ahead and really, you want to almost create a spark here. And then set the hands, the palms right over the eye sockets. Shutting out the light for a moment. And again, drawing on the sensing body. Allowing the sense of sight to recede inward. Now I'm going to let the hands slowly slide down the face. The fingers are just sliding across the eye sockets, down the cheekbones, down past the jaw, onto the top of the chest, over the front body, and back down to the floor. Lift your left foot and bend the knee and bring the knee in toward the chest. Roll the knee over to the right. You can bring that right leg over as well and take your left hand to the floor and push yourself up. Feel free to sit on your bolster or your blanket. Cross your feet. Inhale the 2 arms up. Let your gaze come up with the hands. Very slowly bend your elbows, keeping your soft gaze right between the thumbs. And then bringing the thumb mounds to the heart. We'll seal the practice with the sound of Om. Namaste.
Namaste.
Have a lovely day, everybody, and a great weekend. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon.